It's just past 7:30 p.m. across India and live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Global. We'll get you top stories from India and the region. I am Tanvi Taneja, and for news from the rest of the world, I'm joined by my colleague in Washington DC, Kate Fisher. Good to have you, Kate, with us.
Good morning, Tanvi. It's 10 a.m. here in Washington DC and 3 in the afternoon across Central Europe. In Russia, Victory Day celebrations are taking place, marking the former Soviet Union's victory over Nazi Germany in World War II. And here in the US, it's day 14 of former US President Donald Trump's criminal hush money trial. And we're live outside court in New York. But first, back to you, Tanvi, in New Delhi with the rest of the headlines.
The United Kingdom says it will not block arms sales to Israel, citing differences in arms exports licenses between them and the United States. President Vladimir Putin of Russia delivers Victory Day speech, says Moscow will do everything to avoid a clash of global powers, but will not let anyone threaten it. Adult star Stormy Daniels to face tough questions from Donald Trump's lawyers at the hush money trial underway in New York. And India's President Draupadi Murmu confers the Padma Awards 2024. Veteran actress Vaijayanthimala Bali honoured with the Padma Vibhushan Award in the field of arts. So in the latest on the Israel-Hamas conflict, the United Kingdom has said that it will not hold arms sales to Israel by British companies after reviewing the latest legal advice on the matter. UK Foreign Secretary David Cameron said that there is a fundamental difference in arms exports licenses between the United Kingdom and the United States of America.
On the issue of arms and Rafah and everything else, I'll make a number of points. First of all, I think there's a very fundamental difference between the US situation and the UK situation. The US is a massive state supplier of weapons to Israel. We do not have a UK government supply of weapons to Israel. We have a number of licenses, and I think our defense exports to Israel are responsible for significantly less than 1% of their total. So I think that is a big difference.
Now, earlier today, US President Joe Biden said that he will halt US weapons shipments to Israel if Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu orders a large-scale operation in Rafah. Biden said in an interview that the US was still committed to Israel's defense and will supply the Iron Dome rocket interceptors and other defensive weapons. But if Israel goes into Rafah, the US will not supply certain weapons and artillery shells. Rafah is the last major Hamas stronghold in Gaza. The US has been working with the Arab states that are prepared to rebuild Gaza and help with the transition to a two-state solution. When asked about the 2,000-pound bombs sent to Israel, Biden confirmed that the US supplied them, but it has since paused deliveries. The US is by far the biggest supplier of weapons to Israel, and it accelerated deliveries after the October 7th Hamas-led attacks there. Last month, the US legislature approved $26 billion in additional funding for Israel. There's mounting concern on the ground in Israel after the US president announced that some arms shipments will be frozen if Israel launches a planned operation in Rafah. Currently, the IDF is operating in the east of Rafah, referring to the current mission as one of limited scope. DD India's Sarah Coates reports from Tel Aviv.
Beginning to pour in on the back of those comments from US President Joe Biden to US media overnight, with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu appearing to hit back at the US President, reposting a message from a few days ago during the Holocaust Memorial Day. He says that today we confront enemies bent on our destruction. No amount of international pressure will stop Israel from defending itself. Now, we've also heard from the UN representative Gilad Erdan. He's calling it very disappointing. While Israel's Foreign Minister Israel Katz says that Israel will continue to fight Hamas until its destruction. Now, defence officials here on the ground have been telling Hebrew media that they're very worried about what this means going forward and the preparedness of Israel now for other future missions. We do understand that this could now see Israel change its course due to some tactical operations on the ground. Now, in terms of operations on the ground, the Israeli Defense Forces have announced that they're now conducting what they're calling a pinpoint operation in the center of the Gaza Strip, destroying Hamas infrastructure and also eliminating terrorists. Now, aid workers are very, very concerned over the situation on the ground when it comes to humanitarian supplies, with the United Nations saying that the Kerem Shalom crossing, which Israel says is open, is not actually seeing any of these vital humanitarian goods come through, while we do, of course, know that the Rafah border crossing remains closed due to these Israeli military operations. Now, a little earlier today, the first ship bound with aid to go to this floating pier that was constructed by the US. This ship left Larnaca in Cyprus. It's really loaded up with a lot of these humanitarian supplies. No timeline yet on exactly when this ship will arrive, but certainly this will help ease some of the suffering inside Gaza. Reporting from Tel Aviv, I'm Sarah Coates for DD India.
On to the other bigger conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Now, Russia said that it will do everything to avoid a global confrontation. My colleague Kate Fisher is in Washington, D.C. She gives us more on this and other stories making headlines around the world. Kate, on paper, everyone wants peace, isn't it?
That's right, but yes, Tanvi, sometimes it's harder translating that away from the paper. Russia is celebrating Victory Day today on Thursday, marking the former Soviet Union's victory over Nazi Germany in World War II. And speaking at the annual military parade in Moscow, President Vladimir Putin said that Russia would do everything to prevent a conflict between global powers, but it would not allow anyone to threaten the country.
Russia will do everything to prevent a global conflict, but at the same time, we will not allow anyone to threaten us. Our strategic forces are always in combat readiness.
Well, DD India's Dasha Chernishova has sent us this report from Moscow.
Well, the Russian president was addressing the Russian people as well as the participants of that military parade in Moscow's Red Square, saying that the distortion of the historic memory and of history itself is absolutely unacceptable. And he accused the Western countries of trying to distort that history, to wipe out the memories of the deeds of the Soviet people and the nations that were helping Russia and the Soviet Union to destroy the Nazi Germany. He was also saying that it was convenient for the Western countries to distort the history at this point in time, but he also stressed that this abuse of history, revanchism, would not be successful. He stressed that Russia is indeed willing to do everything possible to prevent the confrontation with the other countries, but it is saying that it has its strong military, and that was pretty visible by the parade itself. So the understanding here in Moscow is that this victory parade now not only marks the defeat of the Russian of the Soviet Union over the Nazi Germany, but also the fights that the Russian soldiers today are taking part in as they participate in the operation in Ukraine.
Well, Russian President Vladimir Putin has agreed to withdraw his country's forces and border guards from various parts of Armenia. The announcement follows the departure of nearly 2,000 Russian peacekeepers from in and around the Nagorno-Karabakh region, which Azerbaijan had claimed by force in September last year. Their exit ended a multi-year deployment that gave Moscow a military foothold in the South Caucasus region. A Kremlin spokesperson said that Putin and Armenia's Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan reached an agreement on a wave of new Russian departures at a meeting in Moscow on Wednesday. Ukraine is planning to double electricity imports after a powerful Russian attack on Ukraine's energy system. Ukraine's energy ministry said that the imports are expected to rise to nearly 17,000 megawatt hours from less than 8,000 megawatt hours. Ukraine operated 10 hydropower plants prior to the conflict with Russia. And after the latest attacks, only 7 of the plants are operating, and they're operating at a significantly reduced capacity. China's President Xi Jinping was greeted by Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban and President Tamás Sulyok in Budapest on Thursday, as he makes his third stop on his first European tour in 5 years. Ukraine is likely to be high on the agenda of the talks. Both countries are expected to sign 16 to 18 new agreements, one of which could be a large-scale infrastructure project as part of China's Belt and Road Initiative. She arrived in Hungary after visiting France and Serbia. Well, we're now at day 14 of former US President Donald Trump's criminal hush money trial in New York, and it's underway again this morning. Adult film star Stormy Daniels is returning to the stand to continue cross-examination by the defense. Earlier this week, Stormy Daniels disclosed details of her alleged romantic involvement with Trump, a claim that he refutes. Donald Trump faces 34 counts of falsifying business records to hide hush money payments allegedly made to the adult film star. Well, DD India's Sally Patterson has been following this trial all the way through, and she joins us now live from outside the court in New York. Sally, what can we expect today in court? What are we expecting to hear?
Well, Kate, Stormy Daniels is back on the stand here in New York City. She seems composed, according to people inside the courtroom. She is ready to go. This is an opportunity for the defense to cross-examine her, to really try and undermine her credibility, because on Tuesday she was given a full platform to give her side of the story, with the prosecution allowing her to go into detail about the affair she alleges she had with Donald Trump. She claims that they met back in 2006 at a golf tournament. She says that they spoke a little bit before he invited her via one of his bodyguards back to his hotel suite, and she says she was debating whether or not to go, but her publicist said it would be a great story either way, and so she decided she would go and join him. She said when she got there, he was wearing just his satin or silk pajamas. They had a dinner, she said, where they discussed her career. They'd even discussed going into business together. She alleges that she then went into the bathroom, and when she came out, Donald Trump was wearing just his underwear and was lying on his bed. She says an alleged sexual encounter then took place, and she really went into detail inside the courtroom over what that encounter looked like, with Donald Trump's team repeatedly trying to stop that detail, saying it was prejudicial, saying it was unnecessary and not relevant to the case. So what we're expecting to see on Thursday is more of that denial of her case being relevant to what we're seeing here, which is really about these business records. The prosecution says that Daniels' case is crucial because it really paints a picture of the story that is being told here. We also heard from Donald Trump speaking outside the court earlier on Thursday before going in, because of course there are no cameras allowed inside. And what he said was that this gag order that he's currently under is unfair. He says that he's filed a motion in order to try and get rid of it because he's already been fined thousands of dollars by the judge and even threatened with prison time because he continues to speak about the jury and about witnesses involved in this case, which he is not allowed to do. And Judge Juan Merchan has been very strict that he will consider harsher penalties if that continues. Back to you, Kate.
Sally, thank you. That's DD India's Sally Patterson following Donald Trump's trial there in New York. And that's all from us here in the United States. Time now to hand you back to Tanvi in New Delhi.
Thank you, Kate. That was my colleague Kate Fisher joining us all from our bureau in Washington, D.C. You're watching DD India Global, still to come on the show. India's External Affairs Minister meets his Maldivian counterpart Musa Zamir in New Delhi, asserts that India has been a key provider of development assistance to the island nation. And major landmarks across Europe illuminated in colours of the European Union to mark the Europe Day today.
As India decides in the world's largest election,
we help you feel the pulse of the nation.
I am Sakal Bhatt.
I am Shubhendu Ghosh.
This election season, join us on a journey of India.
We are in Assam. This is the tea city of India.
From down south, Tamil Nadu.
Discover the colors of democracy.
Gateway to northeast of India.
Coastal state of Kerala. Watch Poll Pulse on DD India.
Thank you for staying with us. You're watching DD India Global. I am Tanvi Taneja. Back to New Delhi. India's President Draupadi Murmu presented the Padma Awards at the Rashtrapati Bhavan, the President's house in New Delhi. Veteran actor Vijayanti Mala Bali and K. Chiranjeevi were conferred with the Padma Vibhushan Award in the field of art. Media veteran Hormusji N. Kama received the Padma Bhushan in the field of literature and education journalism. The President of India conferred Padma Bhushan to Satyabrata Mukherjee posthumously in the field of public affairs. Padma Awards are one of the highest civilian awards in the country and are conferred in 3 categories: Padma Vibhushan, Padma Bhushan and Padma Shri. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar on Thursday met his Maldivian counterpart Musa Zamir in New Delhi. Minister Jaishankar said that India is a provider of development assistance to the Maldives. Its projects have benefited the people of Maldives and contributed to their quality of life. The Maldivian minister is on his first visit to India since assuming office.
Excellency, India has been a key provider of development assistance to the Maldives. Our projects have benefited the lives of the people of your country, have contributed directly to the quality of life. They range from infrastructure projects and social initiatives to medical evacuation and health facilities. We have also extended financial support on favorable terms in the past. India has been a first responder on numerous occasions for Maldives. Our cooperation has also enhanced the security and well-being of your country through shared activities, equipment provisioning, capacity building and training.
India's Foreign Secretary Vinay Mohan Kwatra has held talks in Dhaka as part of his 2-day visit to Bangladesh. It was the first such visit to Bangladesh after the formation of the new government in January this year. The Indian diplomat called on Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and Foreign Minister Dr. Hassan Mahmood. He also met his counterpart Masood bin Momen. India's Foreign Secretary reviewed the wide-ranging bilateral ties in various sectors between India and Bangladesh. Now, responding to a question on Canadian Sikh extremist leader Hardeep Nijjar's killing case, Ministry of External Affairs of India's spokesperson Randhir Jaiswal said that the Canadian authorities have not shared any specific or relevant evidence or information on the matter so far.
Let me first make it clear that no specific or relevant evidence or information has been shared by the Canadian authorities in regard to this particular matter till date with us. You will therefore understand our view that the matter is being prejudged when people say X or Y. Obviously, there are political interests at work. We have long maintained that separatists, extremists, and those advocating violence have been given political space in Canada. Our diplomats have been threatened with impunity and obstructed in their performance of duties. We've also pointed out to the Canadian authorities that figures associated with organized crime with links in India have been allowed entry and residency. Many of our extradition requests are pending with them. We are having discussions at the diplomatic level on all these matters with the Canadian side.
And staying with India, we now get you the latest on India's elections. Now, as campaigning for the fourth phase of India's elections gains pace, the hot seat of Krishnanagar in West Bengal is witnessing a fierce political battle between Trinamool Congress's Mahua Moitra and BJP's Amrita Roy. Amrita Roy, also known as Rani Ma, that translates to Queen Mother. Now, amid all the hectic campaigning, DD India's Dibendu Mondal spoke to Amrita Roy.
Queen Mother of Krishnanagar, Amrita Roy. First, I would like to ask you, ma'am, how is the contest here? We are just a couple of days ahead of the polls. How do you see the response of the people?
Response is absolutely euphoric. I mean, I cannot explain in words, but it is absolutely heart-touching. I mean, I can go on saying overwhelming, mind-blowing. And the competition is not tough, because I see so many people, so many strata of people coming out and blessing me. So that is why I feel it's that way, it's quite normal for them to come, because I'm connected with the soil, one. Number two, I have no scandalous past. And number three, I come from Rajbari.
Right. And ma'am, but this Rajbari that you just said that you come from the Rajbari, the Trinamool Congress has been campaigning against you when your candidature was announced. They said that it was this Rajbari that sided with the British and betrayed the people of Bengal.
No, I think they have distorted the meaning. Firstly, they don't know the history, or they don't want to accept it. There's no other explanation to this. And another thing I would like to point out, I mean, you can't make a fool of a person. So people of Krishnanagar, Nadia are no fools. So they know what is what. So I'm ignoring that.
With camera person Pramod, this is Dibendu Mondal from Krishnanagar in West Bengal for DD India.
And from West Bengal to Telangana now. Hyderabad, the capital of Indian state of Telangana, is a melting pot of cultures and cuisines. It's the city where the traditional and the modern coexist. This gives Hyderabad its unique identity. Now, the city is witnessing a keen contest as Telangana prepares to vote in the fourth phase of India's elections on 13th of May. DD India's Shubhendu Ghosh reports.
India's diversity is always enriched by influences from around the world. I'm having Irani chai at Charminar. They say it was brought to India by Persian immigrants. It is best enjoyed with these beautifully baked Osmania biscuits. Well, it is time for elections in Telangana. Welcome to Hyderabad. Hyderabad is a melting pot of cultures and cuisines. The heritage and the modern coexist to give the city its unique identity. Charminar has been the city centre of Hyderabad for over 400 years. As Telangana prepares to vote in the fourth phase of elections, electrifying contest is being witnessed here in Hyderabad. Four-time MP Asaduddin Owaisi of AIMIM is challenged by Madhavilata of the BJP. Congress and the BRS candidates are also in the fray.
being a woman myself, even though it is a modernized India, still we feel oppression and we need to reach our home by 9 o'clock no matter we roam in Charminar, which is still open till 12 o'clock, but we need to be home by 12. So it's always a raging issue for the women's safety. It should be a major point to be stressed on.
गरीब क्या चाहता, देश की आवाम क्या चाहती, सबसे ज़्यादा इस देश में 80% गरीब लोग हैं. वो लोग चाहते हैं बेरोजगारी को हटाओ, महंगाई को हटाओ, रोजगार चाहते, शिक्षा नहीं मिल रही सही तरीके से गरीब को.
As people brave scorching hot summers, we learn that Telangana is also bracing for a severe water crisis. We learn about the problem from Maitri Aquatech, an award-winning startup that has created a unique innovation to harvest clean potable water from thin air.
Over a period of time, the successive administrations have not been able to focus on recharging the groundwater, issues which will recharge the groundwater, or even reviving the water bodies. So Hyderabad had almost close to 200 water bodies. Today, hardly a handful of them are really viable and working.
Telangana will vote on all 17 seats on May 13th. Results of the general elections will be declared on June 4th. With camera person Narayan, Shubhendu Ghosh, DD India, Hyderabad.
Now, a training fighter jet of Bangladesh Air Force crashed into the Karnapuli River in Chattogram on Thursday morning. As aircraft caught fire, 2 pilots jumped from the aircraft with parachutes. Pilots were rescued from Karnapuli River and admitted to BNS Patenga Hospital in Chittagong. While undergoing treatment at the hospital, one of the 2 pilots, squadron leader Asim Javed, died on Thursday afternoon. Now, moving on, major landmarks across Europe were illuminated in colours of the European Union to mark the Europe Day on Wednesday night. Observed on May 9th every year, it marks the anniversary of the Schuman Declaration and the formation of the EU bloc. The 5-faced palanquin celebration of Lord Kedarnath has reached Kedarnath Dham under the leadership of the band squad of the Indian Army. Kedarnath, revered as a manifestation of Lord Shiva, is all set to open its doors for Indian devotees tomorrow on Akshay Tritiya. That's all for this edition of DD India Global. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can catch all the latest news and updates on our different social media handles as well as on our DD India mobile app. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from my entire team in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.